Well, hello there. I'd like to tell you about a piece of music called In the Steppes of Central Asia by Alexander Borodin. Now, Borodin was a pretty fascinating guy. He actually wasn't a professional composer. He worked as a chemist and just wrote music in his free time, by his own description, when he felt too sick to do anything else. And he really didn't write very much. His total output is pretty small, and he was a certifiable expert in abandoning projects. The majority of the pieces that he wrote were never finished, or at least finished by other composers after his death. But the stuff that he did write has had a huge influence on Russian classical music. In the Steppes of Central Asia is his shortest orchestral work, and along with 11 other songs by different composers, it was commissioned to celebrate the 25th year of Tsar Alexander II's reign. Now, it was written to accompany a tableau vivant, or living picture. That's where a bunch of actors act out a moment of a scene on stage, but they don't move at all or speak or do anything really. It's basically just a freeze frame, or a recreation of a painting sometimes, which is where the name came from. But unfortunately, there was an assassination attempt on the Tsar 2 weeks before this was supposed to premiere, so the entire event was canceled, and In the Steppes of Central Asia didn't get performed for another couple of months until it finally was done at a concert. Now, Borodin lived from 1830 to 1887, which is right in the middle of the Romantic era of classical music. Around that time, Russian composers were kind of like the original K-pop stans. They were obsessed with Central Asia because they saw it as this pristine, endless prairie. So those places' music found its way into a lot of Russian work, even though Borodin never actually went there. And since this was the Romantic era, remember, Borodin wanted to tell a story with a piece of program music, and that's what In the Steppes of Central Asia is. And in this piece, that story is about a caravan of traveling Mongols, which are represented by the second theme of this piece, and it starts up about a minute and a half into the song. Now, the first thing you'll notice about that theme is that it doesn't sound very much like the European music that we're used to hearing most of the time. And he did that on purpose. It's supposed to represent something that's foreign to Russia. But he screws up here. Actual Mongolian music doesn't really sound much like it, and that's what happens when you don't make a real effort to understand other cultures. But one thing that you will notice is that throughout this theme, there's a viola keeping the pulse through it. Clop, 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 clop. And that is supposed to represent the noise of the camels walking over the desert. Remember that scene in Monty Python where the guy walks up to the castle with a pair of coconut shells and tries to pretend that there's a horse? That's basically what this is. And this piece alternates between that theme and the first one, which starts right at the beginning of the song. And you'll notice that one sounds very much more like the typical Western music that most of us are familiar with. Now, this theme is supposed to represent a group of Russian cavalry soldiers. In this story that Borodin is trying to tell, the cavalry comes across the Mongol caravan and they ride off together over the plains. And how Borodin shows that is, he goes through most of the piece just switching back and forth between these two sections. He's alternating the focus between the cavalry and the caravan. And then finally, at the very end of the piece, the two meet up. And to show that, Borodin has both of the themes played over top of each other, and they fade out as these riders head off into the distance. Well, that's all I have. Peace out, yo.